So let me just give some information about Mr. Fouad. For over than 7 years, he has been on a journey with local and global brands to discover and explore their authentic voice and to make sure that their voice was heard by the right audience at the right time with the right message. He has been fortunate enough to share the stage as a speaker with some of the most brilliant minds through outstanding platforms and institutions like IEEE, EED, and the UN. Now, at the City of the Future, Dubai, he honored to work with some outstanding brands to write the next chapters of what would be a unique and fascinating story. For over than 7 years, he had been leading multiple projects in the digital fields, the evolution of digital platforms alongside social media tactics, metrics, and objectives have been contributing factor to the growth of the projects, scope, and achievements. So let's all welcome Mr. Fouad. You can start your presentation.
Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for being here. I'll talk a little bit more about my presentation, but first, let's try to make this more of a conversation and less of a presentation, because I can see that the comments is very active. Let's use that in our advantage, and guys, let's talk more about the content that we have. So today, actually, I chose to speak about the story of traffic, not really a how-to guide. You can find a lot of how-to guides online, but I think sharing this experience with you guys will make it more beneficial for all of us if we actually told the story. Everyone have a different story for their brand, for their website, for their online identity. Um, so a little bit of a backstory. Can everyone see the backstory slide? Perfect. So this is why it's important to speak about traffic, and this is why it's important to speak about the story of traffic more. So a little bit of a backstory, right? Every story needs a backstory. So the first, according to the state of inbound, an inbound is an approach, of course. So the importance of the one of the challenges that everyone faces is actually generating traffic and lead. If you can see that 63 percent of marketers, this is their first challenge, right? When they were asked what are companies' top marketing challenges, they mentioned generating traffic and leads. And actually, if you look at the most challenging aspects that everyone has mentioned answering this question, it actually leads all after that. So, for example, providing ROI or securing enough budget, this is all goes to if you're not generating enough traffic, it will be difficult to explain to your clients, your managers, um, why do we need to invest more. So if you're not providing enough ROI, then there will be not enough budget, and everything will fall in after that. So having traffic and increasing brand awareness of your online brand identity is vital in fixing that. That's why this is backstory of it. That's why the story of um, traffic is important. So again, every good story starts with a conflict, and this is the conflict that we have. In this day and age, though, there is one thing to keep in mind that digital marketing is actually a whole approach, right? Digital marketing is a body of work. It's not one off. Because we speak to a lot of clients and they say, we're doing social media or we're doing websites or we're doing blogs. Let's have all of these activities. So don't look at these activities as different tactics. This is like an army. You're moving everything at the same time. They should work coherently. There is a embedded natural challenge of generating every activity that you do that is not getting people to your website is taking that traffic away, right? So if you're doing social media, which I will speak about that, if you're doing social media, that naturally takes the traffic out of your website and into these platforms. And this is one of, I would say, mistakes that people do is that you think the more social media presence that you have, that actually helps your brand. It is true, but then you don't work for these platforms. You work for your brand, right? So generating enough traffic, and instead of sending it to your website, you're sending it to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and so on and so forth. So this is actually you're generating traffic to these platforms, you're not generating traffic to that website. I hope that point is clear as well. So who is the enemy when it comes to that, right? Every good story needs villains, and we'll be speaking about them. And like there are four main chapters of villains that we'll be looking at. First of all, what is the battlefield? So if you're looking at the story of your traffic, your protagonist is of course your website. So what would be your battlefield? How would your customer journey look like? This is our called the fourth ones is the weapons of traffic destruction, and the last one is of course behind the enemy lines. I'll tell you what everyone needs. This is just I need to make this clear. This is just a theoretical frame of work that a lot of people actually function under. So, and that's why I want it to be more of a conversation. So, the battlefield. If we had that question a couple of years ago, maybe 15 years ago, the answer would have been absolutely different. So, if I ask you guys, what is the definition of a market, right? Back in the day, market used to be the physical geographical location that sellers and potential buyers meet to exchange goods and services. That was the definition of the market. This definition cannot be obsolete more than now. It is absolutely invalid, not accurate, and just not true. If you look at the battlefield, this is your battlefield right now. This is where your customers are. They are online and their activity is diverse and it is growing massively. So look at the top activities. Sorry. Look at the top activities performed when people screen more than look at more than one screen at the same time. And most people actually admit to not admit to it. Um, Most people adhere to having more than one device going at the same time. So maybe they're watching TV or actually doing some work on their laptops or like tablets at the same time holding their phone, doing other activities, right? So there is multiple screening. So again, these all are your potential buyers. This is traffic that goes to website, right? But it's diverse and people have a very short attention span, right? So you had 81% of people browsing on the internet. You have 72% in social network. You have 67% shopping. You have 63 searching for information, and this is very important. We'll come back to that metric later. Um, there is 46 that manage their finances, so like through apps and different things, right? 43% plan to a different trip, and 43% watch. So this is your market. It's drastically changing, and it is extremely dynamic. How would you plan? That's the question. Like, how would you plan to get traffic out of all of this, right? It's not even on the same platform. So if your plan, and that's the important part. If your plan actually revolves around shopping, having offers, pushing different offers and different platforms, if this is the only plan, you're losing everything else. If your only plan is SEO, you're losing everything else because there is a lot of how-to guides on the internet when it says, okay, so here's the top five reasons to generate traffic to your website, and all of it is SEO based, right? Again, this is one-off tactic. It might work. Actually, it did work in a lot of cases. However, this is not the only way that we should look at the marketplace. This is the reality of it. The marketplace is dynamic, and let me show you a couple of results actually of having a dynamic marketplace like that and adapting to it. Um, so you look at, for example, 60% of the Fortune 500 companies in 1970 do not exist, right? So these are guys like Blockbuster and recently Toys R Us actually did file for bankruptcy. So you're looking at 60% of the Fortune 500. This is not small businesses. This is not businesses that didn't know what marketing is. These are not guys that didn't know what they're doing, right? They are the top. They were like the top of the food chain. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but Kodak was one of the first ones to invest in digital camera, but they just didn't go through with a plan because of the managerial reasons, strategic reasons. They didn't invest in it. And where is Kodak cameras now, right? 80% of product launches are not successful, and 90% of startups fail. Now these are like massive numbers, right? So when you look at it, it is I know it is a little bit scary to look at these numbers, and someone might say like, okay, so why are we doing this? And the reason for that is it's not about your product or about your idea. I mean, ideas are everyone have ideas are free. Great ideas are free, right? So the problem most of the cases is not with the idea that you have or the product or the app that you're building. This is not the problem. Most of the cases, the problem is how to implement that and to adapt to an extremely dynamic market. So, of course, attending sessions, doing webinars, that is great. But part of it as well, what is your measurable plan, right? What is your measurable digital plan, and is it just a one tactic, or is it a full strategy um, that speaks to different aspects of the art, right? Okay. Are you guys still with me? I just want to see comments because I cannot see anyone commenting now. So if you guys still here, I mean, perfect. Okay. Thank you guys. The question is, I wanna, because this is the part where I said it's gonna be a conversation. Um, Here is my question: is how many of you guys are familiar with that graph here? This is how we tell our stories, right? Um, so how many are familiar with this? What is the thing that we're looking at right now? There is no wrong answers. Of course, there are wrong answers, but I mean, in the sake of engagement. So, yep, people are typing. That is good. This is the this is the this is the inbound approach, right? A customer life cycle. Hey, thank you for that. That is actually true. This is the customer's life cycle. So this is the graph. So what we're doing is that most people don't know who we are, right? I mean, and again, this is not personal. If you look at actually Seth Godin, he's one of the um, perfect. It is the HubSpot marketing. That is perfect. That is the HubSpot approach. That is true. I do work with the could be the only platinum HubSpot partner in the Middle East, and of course, so I have to be biased towards it. So, speaking of the customer life cycle, right? If you look at someone like Seth Godin, for example, right? Um, he is one of the most known and most one of the marketers that actually produce a lot of content. Yet 60% of marketers don't know who he is, and that's because of the scale of the internet, right? Um, the massive internet scale in terms of usability, in terms of content creation. We've all seen a lot of the artwork that goes of what happens on the internet in 60 seconds, right? Or like in 1 minute. And it's massive amount of videos that people watch. It's literally in billions. So competing with that amount of content is a challenge in itself. So most of people are strangers to you. They don't know you. And you attract them through blogs, keywords, or social media. This is where they become a little bit aware of who you are. So it's a more of a triangle if you look at it. So they go from a strangers, you attract them, and then they become visitors. And then once they become visitors, you ask to download let's say an ebook, um, or you there is a call to action which is like a booking, and you could have a landing page, right? So from strangers, you attract them, they become visitors, they convert, they become leads, and then you close that lead by email. Some people do it with over the phone. Um, so that from leads you close them, they become customers if they are delighted, and then they become, of course, promoters. So you delight them by having events, um, and so you delight them by having uh, not just events. So all the experience that come after the selling, you can consider it part of the delight. And this is, of course, they become promoters if they're extremely happy with their service, like what I'm doing right now with HubSpot, for example. Right? So they become promoters, and then the cycle starts again. So you can actually implement that cycle per campaign, and you can implement that cycle per brand strategy. Here is the idea, right? If we look at that, this is the way that we tell our story. I mean, if you're a really advanced marketer, right, or if you're someone who actually analyzes their data, you'll find that this is not really the case. People do not just go like a straight line like that. They don't go from strangers to visitors to lead to customers. I mean, we wish, but that doesn't happen. Um, so you have a lot of traffic. People read your blogs, but then it's not converting, right? And again, that goes back to the first challenge that we have. It's generating leads, generating traffic and getting leads, right? So you keep repeating the phase one and phase two as long as you can in order to convert them. So you keep attracting customers, you try to keep converting them in order to close them, right? Um, so it's as an inbound, as an approach. I want to make this very clear. As an approach, this is a perfect approach. That's what I think, right? However, as a reality of the approach, if you based your funnel on that, there is a challenge. And here comes the customer journey, and I'll tell you why it's a challenge. Okay. So a lot of people that I've seen, or marketers that I've seen, that are familiar with the inbound, with the inbound approach, they design their funnels like that. It's okay. We'll attract, and then we'll engage, convert, and nurture. So I'll attract, clients by having interesting offers, discounts. I'll be as much active on social media as I can. I'll try to build up a community around it. Influencers campaign. All of this are good for attraction, and then from that they will engage with me. After that, they'll convert, and then I'm gonna nurture them, right? So these are like the three aspects of the customer journey, which is the inbound approach, funnels, and customers touch points. However, and here is why that's the main trick actually. It's not as easy as it looks. So as you can see, it's not a straight line. So on this, for example, look at the difference between prospects and customers here, right? So awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty. If you look at these phases, you can see that there is like multiple touch points that the clients goes through, right? They don't go from strangers to customers right away. You have search engine ads, right? If you look at all of these small touch points that there is emails, there is blogs, there is competition, right? So it doesn't look like a straight line at all. All of these are different touch points, and this is critical to the business, right? So if you're creating a campaign, think okay, I would say as it is. So think it as relevant and as genuine as you can, right? So if I'm building a travel campaign, I'll take the travel industry as an example. If I'm building a travel campaign, if all the things that I'm doing is that I'm building blogs about how to book in my services, and I'm doing social media efforts. I'm sending like a beautiful, what do you call it? I have beautiful videos of the destination that I'm promoting, and I'm having a booking campaign. It's nice. It's better than most people what they do, but it's not accurate, and it doesn't capture the power of digital media as it should. And I'll show you why. Because this is the customer journey um, in a travel situation, right? Perfect. So you have, for example, this is the journey. So inspiration, planning, booking, experience, and advocacy, right? This is on the. I'm reading the top part. On the left part, you'll find pay, share, owned, and devices. So if you look at this graph, right, you find people are most active in the inspiration process and in the advocacy, right? So when they're searching for a place to travel, this is where they look up social media. I mean, Instagram is amazing for this because of its image based. It is an image based platform, which again I'll talk about the platforms a little bit after. But for now, we're talking about like YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So people go for social media for inspiration. After that, they plan. But when they plan, they don't plan through social media. It's very rare that you'd find someone saying, "I am planning to book in that place at that time," right? Um, I don't know if any of you guys do it. Like, do you share your plans online on social media? I personally do it. I personally don't do it. So when they plan, they look at booking engines. They go for things like Booking.com. Um, I guess we have speakers from Trivago, so I have to say Trivago. So they look at Trivago. They look at Booking. They look at all of these different services when they plan. After that, they start booking. After that, they go to the place physically, they experience, and then while they're there, they start social media activities, start picking up, and then after that, they advocate, right? So if they had, three pictures or three posts, content created at the airport, it would be at least 50 content created in the place that they're visiting, right? The destination that they go to. So keep in mind everything that we said right now. Different customers touch points. What is the inbound approach? How are we reaching our clients? Being genuine and relevant and telling our story, right? So if your story is all about book now, there is no advantages for your clients to go through that, right? Because this is not where they are. Don't forget, as we said, the dynamic market, right? So this is not what they're at. Your customer is either trying to be inspired or already advocating someplace else, right? So a good strategy could be, here is why you need to travel, right, to these places. I'll talk about Airbnb strategy on that, which was perfect. But then looking at inspiration. So why would you go to these places? Here is five top destinations. One of the things that really help. Okay. So one of the okay, perfect. So one of the what do you call it? One of the things that really helps in the inspiration process is creating personas, right? So what is your industry? So let's say I'm a travel agency that would like you to experience cities. So at that time, it would be good saying, okay, here is five things to do in New York. Restaurants that people don't, a lot of people don't know about. Here is like hidden gems that you can visit. All of this speaks to your persona. If your persona is a bit adventurous, right? So your content will be more about like what is the outdoor activities that they can do, how they can experience different activities, adventures, kayaking, hiking, water sports, all of this. So, right, the content would be from there. Once that is part of the inspiration, again, this is not 100% your content because again, how they will book if you're only inspiring them. So this is not 100% of your content. That is one of your content pillar. So designing the content pillar would be, for a situation like that, designing content pillars would be 50% inspiration, 20% helps in planning, 20% goes for booking, and then advocacy would be social listening and advocating the places that you visit, user-generated content, right? So again, I want you to notice the difference between going from all booking, reserve now, we are the best services available online, to speaking and meeting your customers at their place, right? That's your customer. Now we go to the weapons of traffic destruction, right? Behavior is one of the things that is at the heart of that. If you know the picture of the guy on the right, he is B.F. Skinner. He is one of the fathers of behavioral psychology, right? And I'll tell you why I'm talking about him right now. He did one of the experiments that he did. Um, he got like food. He used to have birds, pigeons, right? So he actually divided them into two groups, and as they're very punctual. So he had group A, group B, right? So again, we have two groups of birds, group A, group B. Group A gets food on time. So they get food, let's say 12, 5, and 10, right? So 12, 5, and 10. So these birds used to fly, which is group A, and come back only at these times, right? They come back only at 12, 5, and 10, because this is where the food at, right? Group B that he divided used to just give food in different places, right? No specific timing. What happened is, again, Group A used to come at these specific times because they know food is there. However, Group B kept just coming back. They didn't fly that much. Now, if you already got that link, this is what social media is doing to your traffic, right? Social media is Group B. They are consistently putting food, look at the food is content. So look at the amount of content that is, again, the amount of content that is created, right? So this is group B. So the amount of content that is created actually keeps generating traffic to their platforms, not yours. So this is a psychological behavioral part that is very important. Speaking of your website, on the other hand, I've seen a lot of clients that websites are not social friendly. I'm sorry, the websites are not mobile friendly or doesn't have social links. Um, Actually, this is not a small number. There is 80% of SMEs doesn't have a mobile-friendly website, which I think is disastrous, right? Yes, BF Skinner. Thank you so much. So from a behavioral point of view, you're just driving them away from your traffic, and they're just naturally attracted to that social media because there is a dopamine part in your brain. Dopamine is the chemical that makes you feel a little bit happier. So there is that dopamine actually that gets doses Once you get, new information, you feel happy knowing more. As simple as that. And this explains. Okay, someone is asking about lead nurturing. It is not part of the presentation. Once I'm done, I will go ahead and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Um, so, as we said, like they're naturally attracted to the places that have a lot of content that is relevant to them. Don't forget who is on social media, right? Again, being relevant and genuine in telling your story. Who is on social media? Social media have your friends, your families. If you're, I'm based on Dubai, so if you're in Dubai, most of us are expats. So actually, social media provide a free way to connect with your family. So there is another genuine relevant aspect naturally embedded in social media, which is not on your website, right? If I go to your website, I'm not gonna be able to connect with family and friends. I'm not gonna know what's happening in my city. So by naturally, behaviorally, I'm sure I will visit more in social media. Another part that actually kills traffic is dark social. Uh, just as a question, who is familiar with dark social? Anyone? Gonna give it 1 minute. If someone is familiar with the term dark social. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Um, so dark social is actually when someone, let's say someone takes a link from your website, there is an interesting blog that you did a lot of amount of effort. Again, going through the inbound approach, you did a lot of effort, and then after that, um, you actually convince them that this is a valuable, good content that they need to share. And they simply take that content and share it on a platform that is not visible. Again, dark social. So one of the things that do that is actually WhatsApp. In a lot of WhatsApp groups, and all of these WhatsApp groups have a lot of links to it. And I feel bad because this doesn't reflect the traffic, because the traffic is on WhatsApp group. Like if you're measuring your website, if you're looking at Google Analytics, all of this traffic, you're not seeing it. It's just going into the dark, right? So you lose traffic because you're sending people. You lose traffic because you're sending people into. You lose traffic because you're sending people into like different platforms. Dark social is part of it. Behaviorally, you're not winning that battle, right? There is an issue of updates and designs and content with social media. That is massive, right? I know we love Facebook, Twitter. I mean, we're all content marketers. We're all marketers. So we're all digital marketers, right? So we all are on these platforms. We love them. We know the power of social media and other platforms. However, what I'm gonna say is things that actually affect your digital plan online and could be stealing your traffic from you, right? One of them is that you don't own all of the content. So if you publish on the read Facebook terms and condition, read Twitter terms and condition, and by extension Instagram terms and conditions. They actually own the content. Some of them own some of the content that you create, so you just lost the ownership of that content, right? That's one. The other thing is the updates. So Facebook in the last maybe 6 months have said over and over again that they have errors with video measurements. They have errors with their ads. They have, not reporting on their metrics. So metrics was a problem, right? So everything that you have, not everything that you have, that might sound too dramatic, but I mean, a lot of the metrics that you relied on creating content was not accurate because Facebook was not accurate, right? The amount of updates that goes on the social media platforms. I'll tell you one update. Speaking of lead, because someone asked about lead nurture, and I'll give you one update on that. I don't know if anyone is familiar. There used to be something called Twitter lead generation cards. I don't know if anyone have used them. Right? They were like magic. Twitter lead generation cards were cards that if someone click on it, it will send you. You can then go to your resources, right? So you create that Twitter card if you're familiar with the Twitter um, uh, timeline and advertising options. I work on it. Perfect. Um, so yeah, it was like magic. I would love to know more. How did it work with you, Manish? But I mean, it was for me. It was perfect. Because what happened is that you create that lead generation cards. You click on it, and it sends all the information to your resources, and then you can download that Excel sheet that has all of your contacts. So it was literally one click away. So cramming up all of that inbound approach, getting all of these touch points, into simply one click, right? If they clicked once, you have their information. So it was like magic. I was depending on it. It was a huge part of one of the campaigns that I was running, and then just Twitter decided to take it down. And there is no alternative for it. You can still generate Twitter cards, but you cannot generate Twitter lead cards, right? Lead generation cards. Again, I don't own Twitter, obviously, and I don't own the platform. And this is part of the problem that we faced, right? The campaign, if someone is worried, don't worry about it. Campaign was success. Um, Actually, one of the most successful campaigns that we ran. However, that was big part of the plan. And again, because we adapted a full digital strategy, losing that part from Twitter was not a problem because we then shifted our activities to the different part of the digital tactics that we already had in place. But I mean, something like that, it can just if this is the only thing that you depend on, which I've seen in a couple of times, where someone is only depending on Facebook. They're like, yeah, I only do Facebook ads, or I only do Twitter ads. Having wholeheartedly investing in that platform, these updates can have a massive effect on you. The other thing is that, which is very important, you don't control the designs on that. You don't control the content. They tell you that pixels are 100, 800 by 800 or 1200 by 628, right? So these are your pixels. This is the dimensions. This is the dimensions that you're working with. So you can control the design on that. So there is one of the things that you need to keep in mind is that there is a visual aspect to your content creation process. It's like we love watching movies because movies visualize a story that comes from a fictional um, the creator of fictional characters and fictional plots have created. So it's visually stimulating, right? And we spend a lot of money on visual pleasures, right? So like, look at the movie industry. One movie can make over 120 million. Why? Because there is a visual aspect that speaks to us as a human being, right? Because this is how we experience things. We listen. It's auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. Um, I would say pleasures, right? That speaks to you as a human being, right? So losing that part of your design from your website, that is a problem. So again, updates, controlling your content, traffic loss, dark social, and behavior, right? Oh yeah, of course. Example, Instagram, 100%. Instagram is amazing, right? In terms of visual content. And this is our last villain, right? Our last villain is behind the enemy lines. So other than the outside factors, there are some internal factors that stop us from generating traffic, which is, to be honest, is the digital marketing gap, right? So according to a competency report, 95% of Irish workers agree that their organization is involved in digital marketing, but is not very competent at it, right? And you have UK, it's 46% that agree with that statement. USA, 47% agree with that statement. So you have 59%, 47%, 40. And this should be one of the most dominant markets in the field of digital marketing, and there is a generation gap. Um, so this, for example, there is a lot of research that goes behind that. I would like you guys to check a report called Mind the Gap, which is really insightful in terms of the gap in digital marketing. So I'll show you a couple of other stats. So looking at this, like 60%, 63% is the average digital skill assessment score. 77%. I can share these resources. Someone has asked me about like how we can download this resources. I can share these resources after, right? In the questions, if there is any slides that you'd like to know what is the resources, just ask me about it. I'll share it with you. So it's saying 77% of the financial institute feel they lack digital marketing capability and or capacity. I just want that to sink in for a minute, right? And why is this important? 77% of financial institutes feel they lack digital marketing. This is why you don't have an app that can help you. This is why there is no app that can help you create a banking account, right? Because they don't know how to do it. There is no app that makes financial transfers absolutely seamless because they don't know how to do it. This is why we still need to go on the bank physically and stand on lines and waste I don't know how many hours of your day just waiting for a simple signature. No, sir, you need to be physically in the bank to finish that transaction, right? It's because they don't know how to digitize that process in order to make it relevant to us, the consumers, right? I'm not ranting about that. I'm just that's a it's a very interesting example, right? So over 90% of companies lack digital marketing skills, or 77 consider missing digital skills as a key hurdle to digital transformation. I think a lot of people know that from intuition-based point of view, because when you work with your clients, with your other peers, with other agencies, you can feel that there is a genuine lack in digital knowledge. However, when we see the numbers, it is true. It's part of it as well as the scale of the digital activity, right? So if you're gonna master Google Analytics, if you're gonna master Facebook ads, with all the changes that are going on, if you're gonna have the perfect presence online, that is a lot of work, right? What I'm saying is having these massive gaps in digital marketing um, affect not just your traffic, affect your digital presence in general. By extension, of course, traffic is one of them. Right? I have one more case study to go, and then some final remarks. So this is actually an interesting case study. It's the Turkish Airlines, right? Now it became a Harvard case study. So if someone is asking about the resource, it's a Harvard case study. It's the second most valuable brand on lines. This is not the second most profitable brand on lines. It's the second most valuable brand in airlines. And this is because of their transformation from a regional actor, right? So from a Turkish-based transformation to a global powerhouse. I mean, I would highly encourage you to read more about Turkish Airlines in 216 and 217. um, can anyone see the presentation or no? Someone have a problem with it. I just want to see if it works for everyone. Then it works. Okay, you see it. Great. Perfect. I'm going to look up that case study because I think it actually speaks to everything that we've mentioned. Right. So what happened is that Turkish airline wanted to become from a regional, um, from a regional player to that um, um, to a global player, right? So what they did is that they wanted to target specific markets, and in that case study, they target the American market. And what a better way to target um, and make the content relevant to the American audience than NFL. So what happened is that while the NFL is happening, by the way, there is a video on this. You can just Google. I guess it's on Vimeo as well. So just look at that case study because the visuals are amazing, right? The story behind the story is very interesting. So what happened is that they started playing a game parallel to the game online, asking people questions on Twitter using the hashtag that you see in the forum that you see, right? So the engagement was insane because this is like a Super Bowl interrupt, right? So and that was accordingly parallel. It was the first time in history that you have an overtime. And they mentioned that, right? So they said, it looks like we have an overtime for the first time in NFL history. You have time to answer our last question. And they used the hashtag. This actually generated 25 million impressions, 27,000 mentions, and 49% more than anticipated results, right? So look at this as a body of work. Who is our clients? What do we need from them? What is our target market, right? So they went to the Americans. And what is more American than having American football, which is you don't play it by foot and it's not even a ball. But um, this is the culture right there. Um, and what is most interesting thing in the American football, of course, is the Super Bowl, right? So they choose the right game and they started creating that content that speaks to people at that time and they made it engaging. So they actually um, created a parallel game. They have their PR, right? If you look at the video, it's insane. If you look at the video, you had your PR department. They had the social listening department, which is real time social listening. They had the social department. They had the content creations. They had their designers on board. So it was a full on body of work, and that generated these results. So it was a wonderful case of digital disrupt. There is another case in automotive as well on the Super Bowl digital disrupt, which I think is very interesting. But the case study is simply playing a parallel game to the game that is happening online, and you disrupt that by having your hashtag and having the full team listening and um, interacting. Okay, so the story of traffic. Once we're because we're almost done here. So and I want to listen more of your questions if there is any. So that what is the moral of the story? So we said the story of traffic, the story of inbound, the villains that we're fighting, the battlefield, our marketplace. So what is the moral of this story, right? First thing is that storytelling in general, storytelling. Just see how many money does the book industry, some writers like James Patterson, for example, and Stephen King. Um, Good storytelling actually pays off. Having a storytelling approach to your content helps um, make it relevant, make your content relevant, genuine, and keep people engaged with it, right? It has a human aspect in it. Of course, everybody listened that, or heard that humans are storytelling creatures. We are a storytelling animal, which is a good book, by the way. It's called The Storytelling Animal, right? We all heard that. But if you if you embedded everything in your story, if you embedded all the different digital tactics into a story, and then that keeps more of the activities aligned, it keeps people engaged, right? Um, the second thing, which I think is very important, which is having an operation, having your branding become an operation, right? So what do you stand for? I'll give a little bit of more example on that. So if you're a hotel, what do you need? If you're a hotel, your main interest is guests. So I expect a hotel to have a good Wi-Fi, right? Because something might happen to me, and I would like to tweet at them, right? Or I would like to know more about the hotel, so I might just go to social media. I expect them to have good Wi-Fi and to be responsive. So customer service should be at the heart of your customer service, and customer relations should be at the heart of digital activity. It still blow my mind till now that some hotels are just doesn't have an online presence, and they're not listening to people who are talking. A good example of that is Hilton Suggest. If you don't know Hilton Suggest, again, please go online, especially on Twitter. Just look at Hilton Suggest, see what they do. Right. The third thing is to keep in mind is the evolution by customer selection. Customers, if we are not adaptive, right? If we as digital marketers still having these problems, customers are not going to wait because they are exposed to the best marketers in the world. Your website is not the only website that is there. So if you have a commercial website, right? For example, if you have a commercial website, there is Amazon as well, right? So a consumer have a choice between you and Amazon, right? You need to give them a reason. To give them a reason to visit, right? And communities play a huge part in that. Finally, the website job. So the website job, by that I mean our customers hire us, and it's our job to know what is the job that they hired us for. So this is not just merely the service or product that we sell. What is the job? What do they need us to do? There is a good book called Competing Against Luck. It speaks about it in detail. Right? But now, for now, let's talk about websites specifically. If you look at the graph on the right, it says what is the top three reason for a failed task completion on a website, and one of them is finding information. I want you after this session right away, look at your website. What is the information that I would like to portray to my audience, and is that information available, accessible, fast, mobile friendly, and clear on my website or not? So these are five things to look at, right? If it's not, then you need to fix that because this is the job that our customers um, did hire us for. Um, Finding the relevant information about the task that they would like um, to achieve. So that goes for all the industries. Because someone was asking me about the pharmaceutical industries in the comment. It's the same thing. What kind of pharmaceutical? I did work with a couple of pharmaceutical brands, but I mean, let's say you have a website about pharmaceutical, right? What is the thing that you want me to know visiting your website? And is that clear? And is it enough for me to visit your website? Why I wouldn't just call someone and get it, or actually Google it and get that information, right? What is unique about your website that I can find that? This is my final slide on that, which is storytelling, right? So speaking about good stories, there is three important, um, I would say not aspects, but I would say they are three important pillars in every good story. Who was your villain? Who's your fighting? I'll give you a couple of examples on that. So Airbnb, when they were asked, what is your competitor? Airbnb, their villain is actually not traveling. So Airbnb is not competing with other travel apps out there. They're competing with people who actually do not travel, right? HBO said their model is based on HBO said their model is based on creating as much addicts as they can, right? I'm one of those addicts for HBO, right? Right now, content has become so relevant to the audience. A lot of people, I'll give you an example. A lot of people would know Mr. Robot, Game of Thrones, right? They would know Taboo. They would know what else? 13 Reasons Why. But they wouldn't know what is the platform that provide these shows, right? So they're familiar with the content, but they're not familiar with the platform. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. Back in the day, you had to tune in to a specific time on a specific platform, and changing timing would kill it. So if you're familiar with the American, talk shows, like the Today Show, Tonight Show, the Late Night Show, and all of these shows, people actually used to tune in a specific timings. And when Jay Leno went a little bit early at 10 o'clock, and then the whole industry almost not failed, but I mean, there was a war going on, right? So people are more, our audience are more aware and are more attached to content now more than ever. So again, who is your villain? Who are you fighting, right? The only reason I'm putting Batman here is Batman villains are actually more stronger than him. All of the Batman villains, right? So Bane is more physically stronger than Batman, right? Riddler is a little bit trickier than Batman, right? Um, the Joker is again could be could be a little bit strategic than Batman, right? So all of Batman villains are actually stronger than him, and this is why a lot of people resonate, and this is why content regarding that character can be created in different forms. So you can see Batman actually generated from different eyes, right? From Christopher Nolan to different directors. You can see someone would animate it more of a cartoon, and someone will take him more seriously. And the reason for that is that the villain that he's fighting, we as the audience can relate to, and because they are stronger than him, we always cheer for him, and we understand when he wins that, right? We can see the accomplishment. Now, I'm not just speaking about Batman as well. Your brand identity. Who are you fighting, and is it strong enough? Because if you give me a service, there is an app that I need to download in 9 steps in order to find my keys. I mean, this is not an enough strong villain for me to cheer for your protagonist, right? Um, if there is an app that helped me remember my passwords, which I've seen a lot of these, right? Again, this is not as strong of a villain for me to invest time cheering for. I mean, I've already have my password saved on my laptop, right? So again, and this is the second part, is that what will change? In any good story, there must be a change. What will happen after people use your service? And this is the nurturing part, right? They did visit your website, they did fill up the form, they did download your ebook. What will happen after? They become better at what, right? The process will be easier. How? And the final thing, and this is why a lot of people, this is according to Robert McKee as well, of one of the great sinners and writers, and he have a lot of books about good stories. He said one of the most reasons, one of the top reasons why people fail in business telling their story is that every good story have a negative aspect on it. Cinderella starts actually, by us knowing that she is a orphan, right? Every good story has a negative aspect in it. I mean, people didn't buy into the whole Superman thing until Kryptonite came, and then so Superman can be hurt, and you know, this became something that actually invested. Because when you polish your brand online, right, just polish it, which is our brand is the greatest, the fastest, the better. We create right content at the right time to the right people. If we do all of these sound bites, right? If we signed into all of these sound bites, people just don't buy that because it's not true. So here is the thing: I'm not saying don't work on your weakness or expose your weakness, right? But one of the great examples in that is actually a retail store, right? And they are known as a retail store, and the story is told in a book called What Great Brands Do, which I highly recommend everyone reads, right? What they were saying is that in that store it's a sportswear, right? So it's competing with Nike and Adidas and all of these big names. So what they do is that they call their workers educators. Their workers know more about fitness, about sportswear, and then they provide service, right? You can go train at their place for free. They can help as much as they can. They're available online, but there is one thing that they don't do. The return policy is extremely difficult. So that's their kryptonite. But they are aware of that and they mentioned that. And they said simply, we don't offer cheap products. Our products are expensive and it takes us a lot of time and effort to get it to our customers. So our return policy is going to be difficult, right? Because we're not selling cheap products. You cannot just return if you don't like it, right? But you can go through all of that process and then uh, you can enjoy all of our main services, which is again being knowledgeable about sportswear. And this is one of the most accessible and successful retail chains in the world. And it's because of that. They know exactly what's their kryptonite and they know why they exist. If that point is clear as well. So that was so much fun. Thank you guys. That's my name on Twitter. So you can contact me, talk. I do have a blog. I'm on Quora, of course. I'm done. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you everyone for engaging. It was so much fun. Thank you guys.